Samuel 2, part 4. Joab rebukes David. Then Joab came into the house of the king and said, "You have today covered with shame the faces of all your servants, who have this day saved your life and the lives of your sons and your daughters, and the lives of your wives and your concubines. Now therefore arise, go out and speak kindly to your servants. For I swear by the Lord, if you do not go out, not a man will stay with you this night, and this will be worse for you than all the evil that has come upon you from your youth until now." Then the king arose and took his seat in the gate, and all the people came before the king. I guess I forgot to mention, David was all upset. David returns to Jerusalem, and King David sent this message to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. "Say to the elders of Judah, you are my brothers, you are my bone and my flesh. Why then should you be the last to bring back the king? And say to Amasa, are you not my bone and my flesh? God do so to me and more also, if you are not commander of my army from now on in the place of Joab." And he swayed the hearts of all the men of Judah. David pardons his enemies. And Shimei hurried to come down with the men of Judah to meet King David. And with him were 1,000 men from Benjamin. And Ziba, with his 15 sons and his 20 servants, rushed down to the Jordan before the king. And Shimei fell down before the king. "For your servant knows that I have sinned." Abishai answered, "Shall not Shimei be put to death?" And the king said to Shimei, "You shall not die." And Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and the king said to him, "Why did you not go with me?" He answered, "O my lord, O king, my servant deceived me." And the king said to him, "I have decided you and Ziba shall divide the land." Now Barzillai and Gileadite had come down to escort him over the Jordan. Barzillai was a very aged man, 80 years old. He had provided the king with food while he stayed at Mahanaim, for he was a very wealthy man. And the king said to Barzillai, "Come over with me, and I will provide for you with me in Jerusalem." And Barzillai said to the king, "How many years have I still to live? Please let your servant return. But here's your servant Chimham. Let him go over with my lord the king." The king went on to Gilgal, and Chimham went on with him, and all the people of Judah, and also half the people of Israel. Then all the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, "Why have our brothers the men of Judah stolen you away and brought the king and his household over the Jordan, and all David's men with him? Because the king is close to our relative." Because the king is our close relative. The rebellion of Sheba. Now there happened to be there a worthless man whose name was Sheba, the son of Bertrai, a Benjaminite. And he blew the trumpet and said, "We have no portion in David, and we have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tents, O Israel." So all the men of Israel withdrew from David and followed Sheba. But the men of Judah followed their king steadfastly from the Jordan to Jerusalem. Then the king said to Amasa, "Call the men of Judah together to me within 3 days, and be here yourself." But he delayed beyond the set time. And David said to Abishai, "Now Sheba will do us more harm than Absalom. Take your lord's servants and pursue him." And there went out after him Joab's men, and the Shurites and the Pelethites. Amasa came to meet them. So Joab struck him, and he died. Then Joab and Abishai his brother pursued Sheba. And Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel to Abel of Bethmaach. Joab came and besieged him in Abel of Bethmaach. Then a wise woman called from the city. Then she said, "You seek to destroy a city that is the mother in Israel. Why will you swallow up the heritage of the Lord? That is not true, but a man called Sheba has lifted up his hand against King David. Give him up alone. And they cut off his head, and they cut off the head of Sheba and threw it out to Joab. So he blew the trumpet, and Joab returned to Jerusalem to the king. David avenges the Gibeonites. Now, there was a famine in the days of David for 3 years, year after year. And David sought the face of the Lord, and the Lord said, there is blood guilt on Saul and in his house, because he has put Gibeonites to death. And David said to the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you? Then they said to the king, let 7 of his sons be given to us so that we may hang them. And the king said, I will give them. War with the Philistines. There was war again between the Philistines and Israel. And Ishbi-Benob, one of the descendants of the giants, thought to kill David. But Abishai came to his aid and killed him. Then David's men swore to him, you shall no longer go out with us to battle, lest you quench the lamp of Israel. After this, there was war with the Philistines at Gob. Then Shebekah struck down Saph, who was one of the descendants of the giants, and there was war again. Elhain struck down Goliath the Gittite, and there was again war at Gath. There was a man with a great statue who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Jonathan, David's brother, struck him down. David's song of deliverance. And David spoke to the Lord the words of this song on the day when the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. He said, the last words of David. Now these are the last words of David. David's mighty men. These are the names of the mighty men who David had. David's census. Again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he incited David against them, saying, go, number Israel and Judah. So the king said to Joab, go through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and number the people. But Joab said, but why does the Lord the king delight in this thing? But the king's word prevailed against Joab. So Joab and the commanders of the army went out. So when they had gone through all the land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 months and 20 days. In Israel there were 800,000 valiant men who drew the sword, and the men of Judah were 500,000. The Lord's judgment of David's sin. But David's heart struck him after he had numbered the people. I have sinned greatly. The word of the Lord came to the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, go and say to David, thus says the Lord, 3 things I offer you. Choose one of them. Shall 3 years of famine come to you in the land? Or will you flee 3 months before your foes while they pursue you? Or shall there be 3 days pestilence in your land? Then David said to Gad, let us fall into the hand of the Lord, for his mercy is great, but let me not fall into the hand of man. So the Lord sent a pestilence on Israel, and there died 70,000 men. David builds an altar. And Gad came that day to David and said to him, go up, raise an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. All this, O king, Araunah gives to the king. But the king said to Araunah, no, but I will buy it. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. And David built there an altar, and the plague was altered from Israel.